Right, hello everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo. You remember me, back on your screens, albeit briefly. And we are here today to talk about Manchester United, who are still having their struggles under Ruben Amorim, but are now linked, indeed, by the time this video goes out, potentially in bed with, I regret that wording, Patrick Drogu. Now he, as you've no doubt seen, is a big boy, and Manchester United have identified him as a priority transfer for a priority position. But why specifically is he the man that Ruben Amorim is so excited about, and why could he be so important to this system that he wants to play? I'll tell you. Right, before we do all of this, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent me some nice messages over the last week. I'm not going to get into the whole thing because obviously it's a really weird thing to have to talk about on YouTube. But I did see all those. I did get sent all those, both in the comments and the ones people sent personally, and they meant an enormous amount to me. So thank you so much for all that, and thank you too to Adam Monk, by the way, who I think is doing a quite spectacular job filling in the circumstances. I will be back eventually properly at some point, but next time you see him, please do give him a bit of love because he's been an enormous help during all of this. Anyway, though, football, that's what you're here for. Now, Manchester United, as you know, spent the summer chucking around money like it was confetti, going and buying players that felt like they were a really good fit for the manager system, and then they got rid of the manager and brought in a completely different one with a completely different system. Ruben Amorim, one of the most coveted system managers in all of Europe, he did not play how 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 played. He plays this quite religious 3-4-2-1, which is very different to what these players were used to. And the best way of describing its success so far is that sometimes it looks really good, and other times, well, it doesn't. And the squad is thus currently a mix of players who look like they fit this system really well, and others who are just square pegs in quite awkward round holes. Like Ahmad is having a brilliant season, Bruno Fernandes looks like he's getting back to his best, and Harry Maguire is so at home in this back three, he might as well be playing in his pants with a slice of toast hanging out of his mouth. But the thing, you see, about very well-defined systems like this is that either every player is comfortable in it, or nobody is. And as a result, Manchester United's results have become quite predictable. How predictable, you ask? Well, this happened. The next two games they have are Southampton and Brighton. Now, they are both at home, and the Man United side we've seen previously this season, and indeed for most of the last one, would turn up to those fixtures, labour to a really uninspiring win against Southampton after going behind and getting a scare, and then get their pants pulled down by Brighton. I don't normally like when people on the internet are like, oh, look at me, I said a thing once and it was right, but that was quite spooky. I'm annoyed I didn't put money on it. But the reason these games tend to follow this pattern is because when you haven't got the ball, when you're out of possession, basically becomes a 5-4-1. So a back five with four players sitting in front of it. And that's really hard to break down. It's really solid. So in games when they're not expecting to see the ball, when they're playing a team who are superior to them, they're actually really robust and hard to play against. You're locked in, you're nice and solid, you've got a couple of really exciting, quick attacking plays who can get you up the pitch when the game is stretched, and you can get at teams in transition. It works really well. They've beaten Liverpool with it, they've beaten Man City with it, they've beaten Arsenal with it, and looked great in doing so. Like, these were their average positions. I think this is the Manchester City game, and you can see the back five they're all there, they're quite deep. You've got 𝗕𝗁𝗍𝗏 sitting in front of it, so that's six players protecting the space, and there's only really sort of Fernandes floating about, and Ahmad and Haaland who are pushing up and trying to be adventurous. Liverpool hated playing against this. But not to sound like Gary Neville here, but this is Manchester United we're talking about, right? There's only going to be certain teams in the league who they're ever going to be willing to sit off and sort of concede the momentum to. The vast majority of games they play, home and away, they're expected to not dominate necessarily, but certainly control the game. So you get to all the other games, your Brightons, your Southamptons, and all of a sudden you look at the lineup and it doesn't really scream goals or dominance to you. Like, you've got 3 centre-backs and 2 full-backs, so that's 5 defenders. Then someone like 𝗕𝗁𝗍𝗏, a defensive midfielder, so that's 6 players whose main priority is stopping things happening. And if Fernandes is in this front three, which tends to be where he's best, then you end up with someone like 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 in the other midfield position, who's excellent, yes, but he doesn't really give you a goal threat. He's not going to box crash or make things happen. So all of a sudden, it looks really light in an attacking sense. And thus, you get a lot of people saying that the system isn't really appropriate for a team like Manchester United in the Premier League, because you can't rock up at home against Southampton, who've got 6 points all season, and have a back five. Like, yes, they had Diallo at right wing back in this game to sort of like freshen it up and make it a bit more ambitious, but that's a waste of him, because it gives him defensive responsibilities. It means he's going up and down rather than focusing in the final third. So lo and behold, when they moved him out of that position late in the game and put him further forward, he scored a hat-trick. Like, that's a waste. But the point I'm getting at here, and I will talk about Dorgu in a second, I promise, is that normally you're going to have Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui in these positions. And they're both fantastic players. I rate them very highly. But on one side, you've got a right-footed fullback who's sort of a bit awkward on the left. And on the other, you've got like a proper defender who's probably more at home in that back three. So you're never going to get any attacking impetus from this squad in this system, in these positions. So it might be the system. That might be the problem. But right now, looking at it, it does feel like it's the personnel. Because if you go all the way back to his time at Sporting Lisbon, this system that Amorim loves so much lives and dies by the ability to turn this back five quickly into this front five. Like, that is how Manchester United need to look when they are attacking teams. And too often this season, they look more like that, for lack of a better term. So, and this is a video about Patrick Drogu, honestly, I swear, I would argue that if not the two most important positions, I think it's those two inside 10s, that's a whole other matter, the two most specialist positions this Man United team needs are the two wing-backs. And I'll show you why. You can see in this clip here, they've got the back five, they are settled, and thus they are hard to break down. So it's working from a defensive sense. But when the ball is turned over and they start to transition this into the attack, just look at how sluggish the fullback is to join in with that. It takes them ages to get up with the attack, and all of a sudden, the defence has reset, and these three players have been unable to break down that scenario. And Amorim will have spotted this in pretty much every single game Man United have played. Like, if you just look at that as a freeze frame, look how far back from the attacking play those two wing-backs are. That's not how this is supposed to work. And this is no criticism, by the way, of Mazraoui and Dalot. Like, asking players to get up and down that entire flank with equal weight of responsibility for 90 minutes and knowing exactly when to go and exactly when to stay is a very specialist thing to do. It's a huge physical ask of a footballer, and it's just not their games. But do you know whose game it is? Patrick Drogu. You see, I told you the video was about him, eventually. He is probably one of the most exciting, progressive wing-backs, whatever that is, in Europe right now. He's not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. He is a raw talent, but in terms of what he does specifically, he is a wet dream for Ruben Amorim with this team. We'll get into all the stats and the numbers and stuff in a second, but here's just a few choice clips from the many Patrick Drogu skills and assists welcome to Arsenal videos that are doing the rounds, and wow. The main thing you'll see in all of these is that he drives the ball up the field in a way that no Manchester United player currently does with any consistency. He's the perfect mix of like a bulldozer, by which I mean he's over 6 foot tall and absolutely stacked, but also with sort of like a ballerina quality, because you'll notice he's not just kicking the ball forward, running after it and smashing through the back of people like Wayne Rooney at a closing buffet, but the ball is actually sticking to his foot. His close control is excellent. And this makes him really, really difficult to tackle. Like, the guy gets fouled a lot because between his strength and his ability, it's now impossible to get the ball off. Like, this is his number for fouls drawn in Serie A this season. Like, you just can't stop him fairly. He's quick as well, certainly more than quick enough for this level, and he's intelligent enough that when these avenues close off to him, he doesn't just run into players and lose the ball, but he holds it up really well and allows his team to get up the pitch and support him. So all of a sudden, you take these kind of scenarios that Manchester United have been in this season, where there's a real lack of support from the 2 wide areas, and he would be here. The dynamic of this situation shifts massively. And another interesting benefit, this is his seasonal heat map, which is just like a splodge of everything he's done across this season. You'll see it's on both sides, because so good is his attacking ability. Lecce have started using him as a right-sided inverted foot attacker, so he's probably comfortable playing either side as a wing-back. But yes, let's look at all his big nerdy numbers, because they do tell quite the tale. You'll see that for a defender, and this is across all of Europe, not just Serie A, he comes with an inbuilt goal threat. And that is because running is his stock and trade. So in the final third, he'll either drive direct a goal with the ball, or if the play's on the other side, he'll target the back post area and getting chances in behind. That is just something you have not seen at any point from either 𝗈𝗫𝗧𝗏 or Mazraoui, whoever's been playing in those wide positions, and it is thematically what this system is all about, because I'll show you his passing numbers as well, and they're shockingly bad. And oh mate, Adam, why are you showing me this? It's absolutely horrible. I thought we're having a nice time here. He doesn't pass the ball frequently or consistently or well or with any sort of incision or ability whatsoever. Why is this a good thing? Well, if you go all the way back to the first videos we did looking at the Amorim shape and how that was going to work with Manchester United, we were at pains to point out that Amorim ball, which nobody calls it, is not about the shape. It's not about it being 3-4-2-1 and that somehow making chances. It is about what they do with the ball. The key to all of this is that wherever you get the ball on the pitch, whether it's in the build-up, in the midfield, in the final third, you then attack the space personally. You don't give it to somebody else. You don't try and knock it around and sort of wait for a chance to open. You just get at the gaps. And when it works, when you get into the danger zone, that is when you try and create a chance. Like Michael, hello Michael, our wonderful editor Michael, he made this brilliant little clip montage of all of the Victor Gyökeres goals that were basically just one touch because a player had driven into a dangerous area and laid it on for him. We're not seeing Man United score a lot of goals like that yet, but it is ultimately the objective of this system. And as well as it being the objective of the system and what Ruben Amorim is ultimately trying to do, it is what Patrick Drogu is particularly good at. So do not worry about the fact he's got these passing stats, which are probably about the same as if you chucked me into Serie A for a couple of games. Instead, focus on these numbers, because these are the important ones. A huge number of touches in the attacking penalty area for a defender. Not tapping it around and waiting for something to happen, for physically getting in there yourself. Progressive carries into the final third and again into the penalty area. That is who he is. That is what he does, and that is what Man United need. And you would be forgiven for thinking that being so sort of aggressive and determined to drive with the ball comes at a cost defensively, but he's actually pretty solid there. It's definitely an asset, not a weakness. The numbers don't really back that up, unfortunately, because Lecce are not having a good season at the minute, but the eye test will tell you that he's really good as a one-on-one defender. His recovery runs are excellent. That clip that Ruben Amorim had of him demanding players ran back all the time, he's very, very good at that. He's got the pace to do it. He's got the energy to do it. He's got the engine to do it. He's got the desire to do it. You couldn't really, at this price, go and get a more suited player for what the manager wants to do. And so don't get me wrong, I'm going to stress this now. He's like 20 or something. He's still very raw. There's still a lot of work to do in his development if he's going to be a proper Man United player. But in terms of the raw ingredients, in terms of what he's working with, good fit, great fit. So just to surmise for you with a visual aid, let's go back to that clip of Manchester United not getting adequate support from the fullbacks, of them lagging behind the attack, right? Just remember how that scenario sort of played out. This is what he tends to do instead. This is a deep, it is a ponderous build-up. Nothing is really happening, but that Amorim sort of mindset of can we drive directly into the gaps? He does. He doesn't go down the touchline. He's equally comfortable coming into the centre of the field. He beats one player, he beats two, and all of a sudden, he's then created an attacking opportunity. And if you look at the numbers here, that's a good attacking opportunity. It's open and it's exciting, and that's something nobody in this Man United team currently does. Like, I don't want to hammer this point home too much, right? But Ruben Amorim is a man on his hands and knees begging for a player in one of these positions to do this exact thing. And it looks like they've got one. Might even have one by the time this video goes out. I've got no idea what the time frame is. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about how much major surgery this squad probably needs if it wants to be the proper realised version of Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. I believe he called them the worst Manchester United team in history, and how we're now 3 weeks into the transfer window and nobody has left and nobody has come in. That seems like a slight cause for concern. But if this happens, good. It's in the green thumb up arrow column, I think. But as ever, you know how this works by now. I'm actually way more interested in what you think. Because if you're a Man United fan, you probably watch more Man United than I do. So is this the problem position? Is this where you would have addressed first? Or would you have done something else? A new centre-back, perhaps? A midfielder? A forward who gets goals instead of none? That might have been nice. Let me know in the comments below any thoughts, feelings, lyric verse, poetry, anything you want to get off your chest. I do tend to try and read it all. You get me across all the social medias at 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏, CLERY. The 442 socials are in the corner of the video. And I don't know where I'm going to be or how often I'm going to be on camera for the next week or two. Again, I'm just not going to get the whole thing because it's really sad. But stuff to do, places to be, things that are not work that need my attention. But I will be back. I'll be back before you know it, and we'll have loads to talk about. And be nice to Adam Monk. Until then, though, whatever that is, thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for the nice messages. They touched me here, touched me right here, which is a nice place to be touched. I don't know why I say these things. I don't think about them before I talk, and then they just then they come out. Thank you. That was kind. I'm going to go. Goodbye.